Welcome back to Read You Reddit, where we read you the top Reddit threads. If you want to hear more top Reddit content, then hit the subscribe button, and turn on the bell for notifications. Now without further ado, let's get to today's content.
r/askreddit. What are subtle red flags at a job interview that say working here would suck? I was once part of a group onboarding for an IT job. They handed us all the one-page new hire contract and everyone except me signed immediately. When I read the paperwork, I discovered we were signing a mystery document. Clauses included I agree to abide by the personal search and seizure security policy, attached. Without other pages, there was no way to determine what I was agreeing to. I kept requesting more and more pages until the HR drone said okay, I guess, me, is just determined to hold everyone up. We will handle you separately if you're struggling so much. After I walked out and drove home, I called the hiring manager to apologize for not taking the job. He informed me that HR reported I had walked out after refusing to be drug tested. I was asked to sign a contract that gave the employer full access to my medical records. It was supposedly for drug testing, but worded badly. I signed every other page, and got the job. Would have been very interesting if they felt like drug testing me, and they weren't able to. Well, the overtime isn't mandatory, but most folks stick around after hours most days. Spoilers, the overtime is mandatory. Fantastic. You should know that if you choose me for this position, I will be declining the optional overtime. I mean, if you're going to walk anyway, it might be funny to call their bluff. My wife actually did this on her interview about working on some Saturdays. She politely refused on grounds of traveling time but obliged to chip in from home if a client needed something urgently. She got the job. Was interviewed by a senior programmer and the department head. The department head was continuously making condescending remarks towards the other interviewer. Poor guy just sounded broken. Hope he's somewhere else now. On a second interview, the general manager brought me into the conference room with his 8 managers present. At first I thought it was a meet and greet, but no, they grilled me for an hour and a half. Didn't appreciate that along with a couple other things and politely withdrew from being considered. Couple months later I'm playing in a ball tournament and come across one of the managers. I mentioned how weird that interview was. He says, "Weird for you? Ha. I found out then and there you were being interviewed for my job." Yep, dodged a bullet there. Last job I worked. Yay, everyone here is new, but it's totally because of COVID. The boss doesn't like people going out to get lunch because they're afraid you'll never come back, so bring your own lunch. You'll get weird looks if you leave on time. It was a Chinese-owned company with heavy Chinese work culture influence, so you were expected to stay overtime all week. Also, the people here are nice, but it's pretty stressful. Ada, also was told by my trainer, you want to know the best advice I can give you? Find another job. This was like my second week in. They're afraid you'll never come back is so funny to me. When they ask out of nowhere what clients can you bring with you? I interviewed with MetLife Insurance about 20 years ago. They demanded that I provide them with a contact list of no fewer than 100 friends and family. Noped out of that quickly. Sure it wasn't an interview with an MLM? This actually happened to me. Interviewer, do you have any questions for us? Me. What is a challenge this department has recently faced? Interviewer, job security. Lamau got to give them props for honesty at that point. He should have just gotten up and opened the door and gestured out. Dude probably about to quit and was like, better save this guy before I dip. A true homie. When you are signing all the forms they give you and you are taking your time to read over every document so that you can fully understand what you are getting into, and people come in and start telling you that you don't need to read this and that, just sign here and so on. I hate that in any situation, not just jobs. Buying something big like a car and they're like, oh, it's just standard contract stuff. Let me decide if it's standard. You know full well if I sign this I've agreed to whatever the is written. Company, standard contact stuff, don't need to read it, just sign. Also company, when in court, you should have read the contract to know what you were signing. I declined a job last month that had a non-compete clause that they really don't enforce. I asked, if you don't enforce it, why is it in the contract then? No good answer. Then I called the last guy that had the job to ask him, and he let me know, at great personal risk, their lawyers contacted him that week to enforce the non-compete. I didn't know it at the time, but you'll be wearing many hats was a sign that they were going to give me the work of 4 positions and the wage of 1. I didn't last a year there before I left, and now I won't even finish reading job ads that include that line. That's a nonprofit motto if I ever heard one. It's also a tech startup motto. And a hat modeling agency motto. I interviewed for an independent contractor position on a piece rate. It's hard to predict how much you're going to earn on a piece rate, so to attract me the manager showed me some pay stubs from his guys. I noticed that he could easily cherry pick pay stubs to show his best guys' best weeks. All that tells me is that I'm likely to make less than what he's showing me, at least on average. The pay stubs were obviously designed to be confusing. They were a full page and absolutely covered in data. He wanted me to be impressed by a dollar amount, obviously not accounting for costs which the contractor has to carry or taxes which the contractor has to deduct and pay, but he took them away before anyone could have deciphered what the pay period, piece rate, number of jobs or kilometers was. He showed me other people pay stubs. WTF? Another red flag is that they were desperate to hire, because they didn't have enough contractors to deliver the work contracts they'd already sold. I had 2 guys from different offices call me after I'd declined the position who apparently still thought I was considering it. Jobs where the expectations of the position aren't clear. The person hiring you should be able to give a clear idea of your responsibilities or day-to-day in a practical way. It shows that the company understands what it wants out of the position. I've worked a couple positions that had a really hard time figuring out who was supposed to do what, that lead to a lot of confusion, and both of them had this in the interviews. If the company you're working for can't define what success in the position looks like, you won't be able to either. I once showed up for an interview and the manager wasn't there that day. No one called me to let me know. The assistant manager was not apologetic for the scheduling issue at all. She was literally just like, oh, she's not here today, in a tone that suggested I should somehow already know that. She said they would call me to reschedule sometime the next week. I told her I was currently unavailable MW but could come in any time THF. She said if I couldn't make time for the interview, I probably wouldn't be a good fit. I said okay, and went on to my other interviews and ending up working elsewhere. You'd think that would be the end of it, but both the manager and the assistant manager badmouthed me to a few other people in the industry, including one of my friends. Hello? I made time for an interview. You disrespected me by not calling me to let me know it was cancelled. I gave you the times I was available to reschedule, and that was disrespectful somehow? I would be livid. Definitely shows a complete disregard for your time. When you ask, what do you like about working here, and the interviewer talks about the location of the job, it's a great place to live, instead of the actual job. I asked this at one of my first interviews right out of school. My interviewer went, "That's a good question. and was ruminating for a good 2 minutes. She went with, "We get pretty good parking spots." And quickly followed fault with, "And the people are nice." You are required to wear clothing that has the company logo. You must purchase it yourself. From the company. This is illegal in most US states, unknown about outside the US. Wait, really? This happened to me in Ohio. They also said I had to give it back. I didn't, lol. Edit, guys, stop making Ohio look so bad. Lmao, they wanted you to purchase it and give it to them once you left? That's absurd. I was once told sometimes the hourly workers go on strike and they lock us in to keep the production line running, but management brings us steaks and we have an informal agreement with the unions so you can cross the picket lines once a week to visit your wife. The question was subtle red flags.
Thanks for watching. If you liked the video and want to see more content like this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give a thumbs up on the video.